Okay, this is how to do the universal around the world stringing pattern. This is only used when your mains end at the bottom and you want to string from top to bottom, which is recommended for head rackets and Prince rackets, which is a head racket, so pretty good example I think. But basically what you want to do is string it as if you were doing a top to bottom one piece string with a long side and a short side, but your short side is going to be a little bit shorter on the order of one main, because you're not going to do the last main with your short side. Now hopefully I'll speed through this and get to the important part, or just edit all this nonsense out. But basically you want to string your mains up until the last one as if there were no issues, as if you were just going to string from top to bottom with a bracket with the mains that ended at the top. Okay, now that you've gotten your mains done except for the last two, what you're going to do is take your long side, do that final main, clamp it, and take your short side and run it across the top. Now, if you have a tie-off hole here, you can use it, but if you don't, you're going to have to cross. Full tension, and then hold it with a starting clamp. Now, if you don't have a starting knot, or if you don't have a hole for your knot to use, and you don't have a starting clamp, there's no way that you're going to be able to use this. So keep that in mind. But with that clamped, you take your long side and run it across the bottom cross. Now, depending on how many crosses you have to take that into account on how you weave. You already set a weave here, so you have to make sure you do the right kind of weave down here. Now, this particular racket has 19 crosses, so an odd number, you do it the same. It's an even number, you do it odd. Odd, even if odd. So, odd, we do it the same. Right here, I'll make sure I'm going over and then under. And again, it's all dependent on how that string was woven. But once you've got it set, weave it through, pull it through, tension, pull off the top clamp, pull it down. This is why you need that starting clamp. Then run it up the last main on the short side. Pull it, clamp it, then get rid of your starting clamp. Parnell knot. And you start doing your crosses. Now, every other cross you do is going to be a hard weave, so it's kind of important that you string one ahead, otherwise you'll have a really hard time. But otherwise, as long as you did that bottom one right, you should be fine to do your crosses all the way to the bottom and tie off. Okay, when you get to the end, you have this one last hard weave here, and I suggest that you pull it twice. The reason being is it's not going to fully set the tension if you pull it just once because of all the friction. I'm going to take the camera down and demonstrate that. Basically, if you have it pulled like this, and you've got a straight line, there's no slack, straight line all the way, what happens is, and I'm going to mark it right on the back end here, right on the back end of the tension, I'm going to mark it. Okay, when you pull it, what it's doing is it's overcoming that tension. Okay, it's pulling it through, and that's making that hard weave not so hard. So it's putting more force in correcting the mains than it is in actually pulling the tension. Okay, now what's going to happen is, to prove that that's actually happening, when you just let go of the tension, there's now going to be slack in between where there was no slack before. So that when you pull the string back out and reset it in the tension head, you're going to have a little bit of space. Now that space right there would have been... Okay, well, I ran out of memory while that was going on, but to sum it up, basically that little bit of string that didn't get pulled into, or out of the racket rather, the first time would be in the racket as loose tension. As in, it's not going to be as tight as it should be. So that's why you should pull it twice anytime you have a hard weave like that. Now it's not so pronounced earlier, but when it's that close to two other strings to make it a hard weave, you really should pull it twice. And that goes for any other hard weaves that you might come across, whether it be on a staggered main racket, tennis racket, or on a racquetball racket as well. So there's that. Thank you.